Hello, everyone. Welcome to ISAP, the International Forum for Sustainable Asia and the Pacific 2022. We are pleased to start Japan's contributions for a decarbonized Asia, multi-layered approaches taken by stakeholders. I'm Kisato Nagakuro, researcher at Overseas Environmental Cooperation Center, Japan, OECC. I will moderate this session today, and I'm joined by 5 speakers and facilitator. Yoshihiro Mizutani, Director for International Cooperation for Transition to Decarbonization and Sustainable Infrastructure, Global Environment Bureau, the Ministry of the Environment, Japan. Nanda Kumar Jalnaldan, Research Manager, Climate and Energy, IGES. Makoto Kato, member of the Board of Directors and General Manager, the Overseas Environmental Cooperation Center, OECC. Satoshi Watanabe, Assistant Director in Office, Office for International Cooperation for Transition to Decarbonization and Sustainable Infrastructure, the Ministry of the Environment, Japan. Takayuki Shigematsu, Planning Officer for the Joint Crediting Mechanism, JCM, Office for International Cooperation for Transition to Decarbonization and Sustainable Infrastructure, the Ministry of the Environment, Japan. Yasuo Takahashi, Executive Director, IGES. Thank you all for your participation. This session will be 60 minutes long, and I hope you will enjoy and actively participate. After delivering all presentations, we will be happy to take any questions at Q&A session. Now, let's start the session. I'd like to invite our first speaker, Mr. Mizutani. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nagakuro-san, for your kind introduction. I'm Yoshiro Mizutani from Ministry of the Environment. First, I would like to express my appreciation to IGES for giving us this important opportunity and also holding ISAP for long years. I'm happy to make a framing presentation on this thematic track states Japan's contribution for decarbonized Asia, multi-layered approaches taken by stakeholders. Ministry of the Environment Japan is organizing this program together with IGES and OECC. To realize decarbonization in Asia is a key to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement because energy demand in Asia accounts for majority of global demand. At COP27, Minister Nishimura stated Japan's commitment to support developing countries, including the realization of the Asia Zero Emission Community AZEC concept through the effective use of energy conservation, renewable energy, hydrogen, and CCUS technologies. He also announced the Japan's assistance package for abating, minimizing, and addressing loss and damage to provide comprehensive assistance and maximize their impacts. In addition, Minister Nishimura announced to launch the Paris Agreement Article 6 implementation partnership to build high-integrity carbon markets with more than 60 countries or organizations, including IGES, on November 16th. We do believe high-integrity carbon markets can incentivize transfer of decarbonization technologies and mobilize investment to decarbonize technologies as well. My colleague will provide additional information with you later. Next slide, please. This diagram shows how Ministry of the Environment contributes to realize transition to decarbonization in an Asian country. And there are some layers or dimensions from policy planning to implementation or mitigation and adaptation, and the energy sector, waste or wastewater management sector, etc. Starting from the left-hand side, we start from support for policy. We start from policy dialogues with the partner Asian countries. Next, we work together with a partner to develop a long-term strategy or MRV systems or regulations as necessary. Then Ministry of the Environment to provide financial support to public-private partnership project formulation to utilize decarbonization technology, and also funding support to realize it as well. IGES, OECD, and several research institutes or consultants can be involved in these processes. Next slide, please. This slide shows our policy on how to work with ASEAN and its member states on transition to decarbonization. Japanese Prime Minister Kishida announced the ASEAN-Japan Climate Change Action Agenda 2.0 in October last year. There are three pillars: transparency, mitigation, and adaptation. Japan has been strengthening its support to ASEAN member states in their transition to decarbonization. Ministry of the Environment provides various kinds of support from policy planning to the implementation through Agenda 2.0. These programs apply multi-layer approach. Various stakeholders such as private sector, public sector, and academia can be involved to conduct each program or project. In this session, we focus on three important programs, namely JCM, JPA, RSI, and city-to-city collaboration, which highlighted in yellow on this slide. My colleagues will explain to you after my presentation. I hope you may have a better understanding of Japanese policy or Japanese contribution to realize decarbonized Asia in this session. That's all of my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Mizutani, for your excellent presentation. I believe your presentation was so helpful for framing today's session. Next, Dr. Nanda Kumar Janardanan from IGES will deliver a presentation on IGES work towards decarbonized Asia entitled Science-Based Policy Making and Partnership for Decarbonization, Role of Technology Co-Innovation in Asia. Dr. Janardanan, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me start this presentation. And before that, I would like to thank MOE and other organizations, including OECC and my colleagues here for all the support for successfully running this program. My presentation today is focusing on science-based policy making and partnerships for decarbonization and focusing on the role of technology co-innovation. This presentation is done jointly with my colleague, Ms. Tomoko Ishikawa. And in this presentation, we would actually try to look at what kind of hardware and software are required to support developing countries in accelerating towards net zero. Next slide, please. As we all know, advanced technology has a very critical role to play in the climate mitigation, and especially in the context of net zero targets, technology has a pivotal role to play. However, we all know that the access to technology is not equally distributed across the world. And we have to depend on technology transfer to meet this goal. And the diagram which I am showing here is from the International Energy Agency's report, which is focusing on net zero by 2050. In that, it specifies that there's a demand for advanced technology at every stage to reduce emissions. Next, please. Here, I would like to reiterate the point that technology is not equally distributed across the world. And we have been conventionally dependent on technology transfer to help developing countries advance their climate mitigation targets. And the conventional technology transfer has been sort of a linear process where technology or finished products are usually sold or transferred on a subsidized rate to developing countries to meet their sustainability targets. And this is the main question which I'm trying to pose here, that the conventional technology transfer has several limitations. As I mentioned, there is no, not always technology per se is transferred. And most of the time, what is transferred is finished products. And when these finished products are transferred or sold or given to a developing country in a subsidized rate or through a grant or aid, one of the biggest problems is actually about the affordability of this technology or this finished product. So cost becomes one of the biggest concerns for developing countries. And while cost continues to be a barrier for scaling up this product, the purpose of this technology transfer, the whole purpose of technology transfer gets slightly affected. So, and that is why we see that even though developed countries are able to transfer advanced technology-based products to developing countries, scaling up of those technologies are not usually seen. So scalability and replicability of advanced technology is extremely important for developing countries, especially when it comes to sustainability targets. And the fact we need to understand here is that technology needs are highly context specific. The demand for technology in developing countries are to meet the needs in local context. So sometimes when a high technology based product is developed for a developed country context, using the same in a developing country will face challenges. And some of those pictures which I'm showing here are, for example, if you're looking at this transportation sector, battery charging. And one of the main concerns for this battery charging equipment in many places I've seen is that in developing countries, these are actually placed in facilities which are exposed to different weather conditions. So when a battery charger is transferred, suppose if a battery charger facility is transferred from a developed country to developing country, then there is a need to understand that such facility can be exposed to different weather conditions, which is actually highly context specific. Next, please. So the whole point here I wanted to highlight is that while technology is an important element for furthering climate mitigation targets, it needs to be context specific. It also needs to interact with multiple factors. And it also has to be there needs to be a greater collaboration between various stakeholders within the developed economy and developing economy. And I'm just trying to use here Frank Gill's idea of multi-level perspective to explain this. And especially when a niche technology, if it has to play an active role in the landscape, then it will have to actually have supporting factors from regimes. I mean, supporting rules and regulations and IP rights and things like that, which needs to be addressed. And then it can move to a landscape so that a social technical transition can be accelerated. So the 3 points I actually wanted to mention here is that one is that we need to think of replacing our conventional technology transfer model with sort of a newer mechanism which facilitate active engagement between the source country from where the technology is transferred and the recipient country. And the second is that we also need to understand that multi-level perspective needs to be considered as a central element while we are talking about technology collaboration. And the third one is that technology engagement need to be broadened, recognizing the economic, social, and environmental co-benefits for developing countries as well. Next, please. Now at IGES, our work includes touching on the software as well as hardware of technology collaboration. When I'm talking about the software, that includes the knowledge transfer or enabling developing countries in advancing their climate mitigation targets. And this is done through a various actually activities that includes our work on AIM model, which is Asia Pacific Integrated Model. And that has been supported by the Japanese government as well. And then with this AIM model, actually, IGS has been an active participant in promoting this. And IGS has actually also been organizing and supporting several capacity development programs in Asian countries in order to share the best practices and knowledge from Japan to other countries. So this is sort of, this actually outlines our support for sharing the software of knowledge. And when it comes to the hardware, next please, it's more about technology. I mean, the hardware, the real technology transfer. And when we talk about technology transfer, as I mentioned earlier, we need to think about 3 key elements. First is that a technology should be addressing the adaptability, it should be affordable, it should also be flexible to a local conditions. And adaptability means when we transfer a technology from a developed country to a developing country, it should actually be, we should be seeing in a way that whatever products we are going to transfer should be adaptable to the local context. It should be adaptable to the weather conditions. It should be adaptable to the usage patterns and customer demands and all. And affordability is again a key factor. Without addressing the cost element, we will not be able to scale up whatever technology we transfer or technology products we hand over to developing countries. So affordability is also an important element. When it comes to flexibility, it has to be, the flexibility is probably a broader term. It should include scalability and replicability of technology or knowledge we transfer to the developing countries. So here I'm talking about the approach of co-innovation. At IGES, we define co-innovation as a collaborative and iterative approach to jointly innovating, manufacturing, and scaling up technologies by source countries and recipient countries. Any product we are thinking of transferring or any technology we are transferring from developed world to a developing world, we need to understand that to fit it into the local context and to get a wider acceptance from the local consumers, we need to actually think of developing a sufficient ecosystem to support this technology. So ecosystem means that there should be ancillary industries to support post-sale services. There should be adequate knowledge in the field so that if the machine or equipment fails, it can be repaired without intervention from the developed country. So there needs to be a sufficient ecosystem developed in the host country when we are thinking of technology transfer. And this is exactly what we talk about co-innovation. And co-innovation can be combined with existing modes of technology collaboration that is existing in any countries now. For example, even many of efforts from Japan has actually been going on in developing countries, including JCM, where technology is transferred. So to have a long-term sustainability of whatever technology is transferred, co-innovation can actually be an it can play an active role. There are specific advantages for co-innovation. For example, a developed country can get a larger market, a long-term market in a developing country, and also can have opportunities for business expansion. And in terms of developing country, since they are able to participate in the technology development, it also contributes to their own employment generation as well as other socio-economic co-benefits. So it is co-innovation is a mechanism that can facilitate, that can actually give opportunities to both developing as developed countries. And it also can actually, when I'm saying that it can be combined with the existing mechanism, imagine about a possibility of considering co-innovation, and whatever credits are generated, the carbon credits can be generated from there, can be sort of, it can be actually brought into the same context what we are thinking from JCM perspective. So this is a mechanism which can be combined. Next, please. Now, I would like to quickly go to this. One of the finest examples I wanted to mention here about co-innovation is that Suzuki from Japan, which is a major automobile company, has gone to India in 1980s with the base technology of car. And after learning and after improving this technology with definitely local, considering the local demand and customer expectations and customer demands, Suzuki has actually remarkably grown in the Indian transportation market. Today, Maruti Suzuki has got about 45 or probably 50% of passenger car market in India. That shows that how a jointly developed technology or learning from customer experiences and participation how can actually it improve a technology. So probably Maruti Suzuki is not very specific to sustainability, but it is an example that can be adopted. There are several examples which I'm unable to show here due to the limitation of time. Next, please. So in conclusion, I would like to highlight two specific points. First thing, socio-technical transition for climate mitigation demands greater interplay of technology with policies, cultural contexts, local knowledge, businesses, everything. So technology transfer should not be a linear, one-sided mechanism. It has to actually take into several aspects. And MLP, multi-level perspective, has to be central in that. The second element is that I wanted to reiterate here is that conventional technology transfer approaches have only limited scope. And that is, it's high time that we also have to understand that the conventional technology will not survive for long term. It needs to be iterative. And this demands alternative mechanisms such as co-innovation that are iterative, collaborative, and sensitive to local context and needs. Thank you so much for listening. We would like to thank all of you on behalf of IGS and my co-presenter, Ms. Tomoko Ishikawa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Janandanan. Your presentation is informative indeed. I believe your presentation was helpful for understanding how to support accelerating technology co-innovation in developing countries by both side hardware and software. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Makoto Kato from the Overseas Environmental Cooperation Center, Japan, OECC. He will provide a presentation on OECC's efforts towards a decarbonized Asia through PASTI project. Mr. Kato, please.
Thank you very much, Nagakuro-san. Good morning, friends and colleagues. My name is Makoto Kato. First, I would like to thank for the Ministry of the Environment, Japan, and also IGES friends for inviting OECC as a co-host for this breakout session. Today, I am going to speak about the partnership to strengthen transparency for co-innovation, which is called the PASTI. This is a program under the Japanese Ministry of the Environment. The next slide, please. As Mr. Mizutani mentioned at the outset of this session, the Japanese government has strengthened the cooperation with the ASEAN member countries with a focus on the transparency, adaptation, and mitigation as core pillars of climate actions. And the PASTI has been recognized as one of the flagship program projects under the transparency pillar. So today's my focus of my speech is transparency, especially in the context of cooperate management and also the facility level measurement reporting verification of greenhouse gas emissions reduction. The next slide, please. So here, probably you're already aware that there is a rising efforts towards the decarbonization in ASEAN countries. If you look at the your left-hand side, respective ASEAN countries, they have strengthened their mitigation ambitions, especially in COP26 in Glasgow. Many countries such as Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and others, they have announced carbon neutrality or net zero emissions towards 2050 or 2065. So that this higher ambition goal has been also continued to their own international commitment. In recent COP27, but again, those countries will explained their raise their stronger NDC in 2030. So that is actually the strengthened momentum for the decarbonization of ASEAN countries. And at the same time, domestically, they have been engaged in, for example, like implementation through the domestic legislations. So that the some countries are have already developed the legal instruments, and also other countries have been working on sectoral mitigation and reporting efforts. And at the same time, the engagement of the private sector enterprise, this is critical for them to realize actual emissions reduction according to their national determined contribution. So that what is focused through the PASTI activity through the bilateral cooperation is that we are supporting their facility level measurement reporting verification, working with the private sector. So some countries are now have started working on the mandatory reporting system of greenhouse gas emissions, and some countries also provided like a new obligation for companies to develop sort of like a mitigation plan. So this is what we have been witnessing in ASEAN countries. And if you go to your right-hand side, we also have been working with the ASEAN as a group, so that this is a regional cooperation. And of course, the ASEAN itself has a strong coordinated actions towards net zero emissions. And then in the promoting activities for the implementation of the Paris Agreement, as my previous speakers mentioned, the JCM is actually one of the strong tool instruments, and also some ASEAN countries took AIM model to develop their long-term strategies. And then when it comes to PASTI, well, we've been supporting sort of like a development of the common denominators for the facility level measurement reporting verification. Because for many ASEAN companies, well, now because they are in the ASEAN integration process, so some ASEAN companies are working not only in sort of like a Vietnam or Thailand. For some for example, Thai companies are working in Indonesia. Singaporean companies are working in Vietnam, Cambodia. So that these phenomena are actually accelerated. And then it is important for those companies working in a common platform, so that we are now working with the ASEAN AWGCC, ASEAN Working Group on Climate Change, to develop ASEAN common guidelines for the facility level measurement reporting verification. And these activities are supported by PASTI cooperation based on experiences with Japan's mandatory greenhouse gas accounting and reporting system. And also Japan has a strength in the decarbonizing technology and services. And then also we are working with the financial industries, especially in the development of incentives through ESG investment. The next slide, please. The format of the cooperate private sector and enterprises transparency in greenhouse gas emissions and emissions reduction. Because it is now companies are aware that their goal is to achieve the net zero emissions in the long run. But to start with, they have also started recognizing that in order to increase the corporate value, they need to be transparent in their own emissions of greenhouse gases. And then, in relation to the government, the government is also working closely with the cooperate or private sector enterprises. Because now the NDC is one of the priorities of their policy, of course. But at the same time, by shedding a light on the facility level or corporate level greenhouse gas emissions, the government has now access to better data. And then with those bottom-up data, they can develop more careful policies and measures to develop to strengthen their actions towards the achievement of NDCs and LTS. And also, if you look at the consumer sides or financial industry sides, more and more awareness has been more and more people are aware that this kind of transparency is critically important in their decision making for investment or decision making for the purchases. And then TCFD, science-based target, or CDP, those are actually key instruments or key programs that we are working with. And then, by involving those international standards, we are supporting the working with Asian countries. The next slide, please. Through PASTI, we have basically three focuses of our activities. First, mainstreaming transparency activities by the private sector. Measurement reporting verification is fundamental to everything when they are starting for greenhouse gas emissions reduction, so that the awareness raising at the management level at the corporate, also the practitioner level at the corporate, this is important, so that we are heavily working on this kind of activities to mainstream transparency. This is quite important for their corporate management. And the second one is institutional development, because for sort of like a mechanism or institutionalized framework is necessary for companies or for governments to work on this kind of efforts towards the decarbonization and net zero emissions. In practice, well, we've been working with ASEAN member states governments. For example, learning from the Japan's mandatory greenhouse gas accounting and reporting system. Some countries like Vietnam, we've been actually sharing our experiences of our Japanese system. And then they have now revised the law on environmental protection, and they have issued a new decree to initiate for this kind of like a mandatory reporting system. In the Philippines, well, we've been closely working with the Department of Natural Resources and Environment, Department of Environment and Natural Resources, DNR, and then now they are developing MRV system for the corporate and private sector enterprises. And then we are bringing this kind of MRV protocol to the Security Commission, which is governing for the stock exchange market, so that the this kind of like a collaboration with the policy side and financial industry side, well, this is a very important approach from our side. And also now we are working on supply chain aspects, because investors are quite aware that how they want to mobilize, they want to work with their partner companies. That when they are making a choice, it is important to have clear and transparent information about greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, for capacity building is extremely important. And then by having these three different components, we are also bringing stakeholders, companies, and also the governments very close to ESG investment and also corporate values improvement. This is the co-innovation that we are highlighting for through PASTI activities. The next slide, please. This is just a snapshot of our recent activities. Well, we have conducted for several workshops for capacity development through bilateral and regional cooperation activities. And then at the practitioner level, we've been training the government officials, but also we've been providing more training for private sector colleagues who in development of MRV system within their companies or within their industrial sectors. So that this is some small tip of co-innovation from our side by engaging multi-stakeholders with their respective knowledge. And then I would like to highlight for the PASTI continues to play a very important role in driving climate mitigation actions and transparency actions for in partnership with ASEAN countries, and especially the engagement of the both at the policy side, but the private sector side, and I would say like a finance side. Well, this is critical for us to scale up our activities towards net zero emission. The next slide, please. So for more information, you're welcome to visit our website of PASTI. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kato, for your explanation of the PASTI project. It was very helpful to deepen understanding to support developing countries under the enhancing transparency activities by both cooperation of bilateral one and ASEAN region. At the final presentation before the Q&A session, I'd like to invite Mr. Satoshi Watanabe and Takayuki Shigematsu from the Ministry of the Environment, Japan will jointly give us presentation on MOEJ's efforts towards a decarbonized Asia. Let us move on to the next presentation. Mr. Shigematsu and Mr. Watanabe, please. The floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Takaichi Shigematsu from Ministry of Environment, Japan. I'm mainly working for the Article 6 issue as well as the implementation of JCM joint crediting mechanism. So we'll introduce the MOE's measures related to the decarbonization of the Asian region. So next slide, please. So here are the agenda of today's presentation. Yes, I'll split our presentation with my colleague Satoshi Watanabe. And first part of this presentation, I will introduce the JCM and Paris Agreement Article 6 implementation partnership. Next slide, please. So as my director, Ms. Tani, mentioned briefly on the framing presentation, this is the basic concept of the JCM joint crediting mechanism. Under the JCM, Japan supports the JCM partner countries by providing advanced decarbonizing technologies such as renewable energy or energy efficient equipment. With governmental support, companies from both Japan and partner countries will jointly implement a project to reduce GHG emissions, and credits resulting from the GHG emission reduction and removals will be allocated among the participating countries and Japan at certain ratio determined by the joint committee. And the JCM project doesn't only provide technologies to partner countries to facilitate GHG emission reduction, but also contributes to achieving Japan and the partner countries' NDC's nationally determined contribution reduction target consistent with the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, which requires avoiding double counting. Next slide, please. And this is the distribution map of JCM financing program supported by the Ministry of Environment Japan. As you can see in the slide marked yellow, we have been implementing most of the projects in Asian countries. Now we have 25 partner countries for JCM, and in this year of 2022, we have expanded the partner country from 17 to 25 at this moment. So we are expanding to the other regions such as Africa and the Central Asia for further implementation of JCM. Currently, the total cumulative GHG reduction from those implementing JCM will be estimated about 20 million tons of CO2 by 2030. So next slide, please. And this is some example of implementing JCM project among this 20 JCM projects. More than half of the JCM projects are renewable energy introduction or the improvement of energy efficiency in consumer sector or industrial sector. But we are expecting to add more various kinds of JCM projects, such as you can see in the slide, the energy efficiency in urban sector. For example, the improving energy efficiency in the electric transmission line, also for the waste energy plant or biomass power generation in the waste sector, also for the fuel conversion from diesel to CNG in transportation sector. So next slide, please. For implementation of JCM, the involving private sector plays a very important role. So we have developed the business matching site, which is called the JCM Global Match for several years. And for private sector, you can freely register this website, and you will be provided a dedicated chat room with a potential partner on the JCM part of the countries to talk with to forming the potential JCM project. So you can see the URL in the bottom of the slide. So please register from this website if you are interested in. And the last slide, yeah, I will briefly mention about the implementation of Article 6. Just before in the COP27, we have launched the Paris Agreement Article 6 Implementation Partnership. After the COP26, the implementation guidance for Article 6 was ended for the negotiation. So we are now entering the implementation stage of Article 6, and many countries are interested in implementation of Article 6. So this partnership aims to promote the capacity building for implementation of Article 6, including the understanding of how to report and how to make arrangements for implementation, also for the how to develop the registry system, which is required for this implementation. We are collaborating with the UNFCCC Secretariat, the World Bank, or other key international organizations for the further implementation and further activity for this partnership. This is my presentation, and I will hand over to my colleague Satoshi Watanabe for the rest of the topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Shigema-san. Let me continue our presentation from ST2ST collaboration. Next slide, please. I am Satoshi Watanabe, one of assistant director in the same division as Mizutani-san and Shigema-san. And I am in charge of promoting zero carbon city and sustainable infrastructure in the world. So this slide shows the ST2ST collaboration programs. Our ministry is promoting this program through providing financial support to each city. And the basic concept is that this program is promoting a transfer of knowledge and experience for decarbonization in partnership with private solution providers. And this collaboration program actually contributes to co-create low carbon projects in partner cities, support developing policies and plans, building capacity and raise awareness. Next slide, please. This is cities participating in our city-to-city collaboration programs. 20 Japanese cities has already linked with 45 cities in 13 countries, especially in Asia and South America. Next slide. And let me introduce success cases of city-to-city collaborations. The first one is a collaboration between Tokyo Metropolitan Government and Kuala Lumpur City. In this supporting program, Tokyo Metropolitan Government transfer of their green building systems to Kuala Lumpur City, and the Tokyo Metropolitan Government also support to develop zero carbon scenario in Kuala Lumpur City. In the result, Kuala Lumpur City announced their commitment of carbon neutrality target by 2050. And we think this is the first case of decarbonization domino effect from Tokyo Metropolitan Government to Kuala Lumpur City, namely from Japan to abroad. The second case is introduction of environmental infrastructure through cooperation between Yokohama City and Dangan City. In this program, Yokohama City and Dangan City is cooperating to study on introduction of energy saving equipment into into water supply stock company in Danan City. And as a result, the introduction of energy saving equipment was achieved. And now this introduction cases is promoting to replicate in other cities in Vietnam. So next slide, please. And in order to share the advanced example of city-to-city collaboration program and as a leading example of subnational climate actions, we held the Zero Carbon City International Forum 2022 in this March together with US. And in the forum, 22 cities and 10 organizations made their presentations to show each leading models. And we are planning to make our next international forum in next March, also together with the US. So we are looking forward to connecting with a variety of cities and organizations in this forum. And please check this forum's information and presentations via this QR code. Next slide, please. So finally, I would like to introduce another platform. This is called JPRSI. JPRSI is a public-private partnership platform established by our ministry in September 2020 to comprehensive support for all partner countries, government, and corporations to improve environment by introduction of Japanese environmental infrastructure. The overview is that JPRSI is promoting to share information and matching needs and solutions between Japanese stakeholders and the partner countries' stakeholders. So, there are 461 entities, Japanese entities, as a member of JPRSI. So, if you have an interest in Japanese environmental infrastructure and Japanese private companies, please contact JPRSI Secretariat via this QR code. Yeah, that's all of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shigematsu and Watanabe, for your informative presentation about MOEJ's efforts, JCM, City-to-City program, and JPRSI. Next up is the Q&A session. Now, I'd like to hand over to Mr. Yasuo Takahashi from IGES. He will take over as facilitator. Now, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Takahashi. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nagakuro-san, for your kind introduction. And it is my great pleasure to join this session. And also, I'd like to thank all the speakers and audiences for your active participation to this session. Today, we can have a very informative presentations from my colleagues on how MOEJ, OECD, and IGES have been working together to contribute to the Asian region's drive toward net zero goals through various projects and mechanisms, including JCM, PAS-T, or city-to-city collaboration, AIM models, and so on. And also based on the outcome of the COP27, where Environment Minister Nishimura expressed strong commitment of Japan to further contribute to the Asian region toward decarbonization, I expect we will further enhance our efforts and collaboration toward contributions for decarbonized Asia. It is also recognized that we need a kind of new approach called co-innovation, which is a collaborative and interactive approach to jointly innovating, manufacturing, and scaling up technologies by source and recipient countries for accelerating progress on sustainability. We have very limited time, but I would like to make a few questions to the speakers based on their presentation. First, I would like to ask my colleague Nanju-san on the issue of technology transfer. In order to accelerate socio-technical transition towards net zero, advanced technology has a great role to play. So how relevant is the local context of recipient countries in developing successful technology transfer? Nansan, please.
Thank you so much. This is an extremely important question as we consider technology transfer. So in the conventional technology transfer framework, the local context is not exactly taken into account, except the fact that there is a demand for technology. But especially when we transfer a technology, after the technology transfer, for an equipment based on high technology to survive in that new ecosystem, it needs a lot of support. It needs post-sale support. It needs a lot of knowledge support from the local context. And it also needs to fit into the local weather conditions and other multiple factors. So the local context will have to be considered extremely as an important factor in technology collaboration. And that is exactly why our research on co-innovation, it focuses on that. It is highlighting that there is a need to understand the local context importance, and we need to actually incorporate that knowledge into the technology product which we are developing from the inception itself, and then fine-tune the technologies. That means like sort of a high-end, highly sophisticated customization is required to fit into the local context. This is important for the sustainability of the lifespan of the equipment, as well as the sustainability of collaboration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nan-san, for your comments. And I would like to ask my colleagues from MOEJ and OECC to respond. I have one question. Cities plays an important role, as you might know, in decarbonization efforts in Asia. So what are the major challenges for developing successful city-to-city partnership in Asia for addressing decarbonization? So first, colleagues from MOEJ, Shigematsu-san or Watanabe-san, please make a short.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Yeah, thank you for your question. Yeah, as it is already pointed out, cities are very important because cities account for 17% of global GHG emissions. And we believe city-to-city collaboration is one of our major solutions to tackling subnational climate actions. And yes, a city is making their own efforts to make subnational climate action, including city-to-city collaboration. But we think support of central government is needed to promote further. So as a central government and as a ministry, we would like to focus on the such a role of central government. And we are discussing these issues with other central government like US and Australia. And next year we will be presidency of G7, so we will talk about the role of central government also in the G7 opportunities. Yeah, that's our plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Watanabe-san. Shigema-san, do you have any additional comments on this issue? It's okay. Okay, so now Kato-san, please make
I will
some
be very short.
final comments.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, yes, well, the role of the local government is extremely important. And our challenge is that how we are scaling up all this local government efforts to societal and systemic level. And then I think on the local governments is now making efforts, and they should make more efforts to engage with the private sector partners. Companies are waiting. Companies are actually moving forward. So I think by scaling up their city level activities together with the national government, I think the engagement of the private sector is extremely important. So this is my response. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyway, I had based on this discussion, I really hope we can further strengthen our collaboration among MOJ, OECC, and IGES to further contribute to the decarbonization of ASEAN region. So because of the time limitation, I have to conclude this Q&A session. But anyway, I really hope today's session will be informative and helpful for the audiences and various stakeholders to further enhance our efforts and collaboration toward the decarbonization of Asian countries. Thank you very much for your participation, active participation. I really appreciate. And as you might know, ISAP 2022 is ongoing through the 5th of December. So I hope to see audience in other sessions. So please check the schedule program and please join the sessions which you like. And also, before completely close this session, I'd like to ask your favor to in the audience, favor of you in the audience. When this session conclude, you will be presented with a survey in Zoom. So your feedback is very important for us to improve the future sessions of ISAP. So please take a moment to fill it out. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation. So I will hand back to the moderator, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Takahashi. Okay, I'd like to thank all of you for joining this session. And when this session concludes, you will be present with a survey in Zoom, as Mr. Takahashi mentioned. Once again, thank you very much for your cooperation.